ultimately we're going to have to be your partner. We're your partner in your transactions. So you're going to rely on us. So all things equal, who do you want to do business with should be the determining factor. Do they have programs to support me? Are they going to help me if there's a claim that needs to be made? All those business points become the next thing. And for me, it starts with, how do we treat you? And it's a really important thing that we do at Dovetail. And something I preach to our sales team is, every single customer that walks in is the most important customer that walks into our door, whether they can do $10 million a year with me or they're only going to do $2,000 a year with me. It all matters. And we try to convey that. And I think that's something your designer should look for is, how am I treated when I come into that showroom?
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Hey, it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. You are probably wondering, should I go to High Point Market? Should I go to Dallas? Should I go to Vegas? Where should I go? How do I find vendors? I want to make more money wholesale. Like, I want to resell products. I've been listening to you, Rebecca. Hopefully. Today's conversation is all about that. It's interesting. Before I introduce my guest, in a conversation I talk about a lot on the podcast is reselling products and adding that as a revenue stream to your business. Whether you are a few years into running your business or you're seasoned and you've been doing this a long time, there's always room to squeeze out a little bit more profit. And from the designers I speak with, not all of you are sourcing wholesale products. You're still going to your local shops and retail stores. And this episode is a great reminder that you can connect with wholesalers, but also we're going to help you today in this episode find the right wholesalers for you, because there's a lot of them and it can be really challenging to decide, who do I want to partner with? And one of the things we talk about in the episode that I feel very strongly about is your team. Having trade partners. It's no different than you like to work with the same contractor, or you've got a great tile setter, or I need my wallpaper guy to install the murals because he's the best and I won't let anyone else do it. It's the same when it comes to furniture. Having those go-to partners where you can get the product you need for your clients, it's going to be at the right price point, and you're going to make money. Interestingly enough, there's a little controversial moment, and I'm interested if you guys hear it, where I push back a little bit on our guest because I think there's always room to make more money. But I'll let you guys listen to it. My guest today is John Genova, and he is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Dovetail Furniture, where he has helped lead the company's growth and brand evolution in the furniture industry. A lot has changed for them in the last 5 or 6 years since he's been there, and we talk about that today. He's had more than 33 years of experience in the design industry. He is known for being strategic. He has a passion for design and definitely a passion for customer service. He loves to travel. He's from California, and you can usually find him on the golf course mentoring up and coming talent in the industry. He is a great man to have this conversation with. One of the areas that John and I discuss is the power of a good website, not for designers, but for your suppliers. And he shares what Dovetail has done for their customers with their website. It's actually pretty amazing, and you're going to want to go check out their website. It's dovetailhome.com. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Dovetail, learning a little bit more behind the scenes of the industry when it comes to wholesalers and suppliers. And we actually talk about what it was like 10 years ago and how it's changed. So listen to this episode and enjoy it. Okay, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, John, because wholesale, partnering with vendors, I mean, this is where the money's at. For designers. And there's so many designers listening who aren't doing this. What are your thoughts on that when I say that?
Well, I think you're exactly right. And I think that the opportunity for designers to increase their margins, increase their opportunities from a product standpoint through various vendors rather than just their local sources gives them a competitive advantage in their marketplace, not only from a cost perspective, but also from options they can provide and differentiate themselves from their competition when they're bidding for jobs, when they're doing jobs. And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity, and Dovetail Furniture has absolutely jumped into the design and trade world, both feet forward, supporting them the best that we can.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm excited to learn a little bit more about Dovetail specifically, and have this conversation about partnering with these brands and what that looks like. It's interesting that we're having this conversation today. I just was on the phone this week. We are in the process of filling up my mastermind, and I'm interviewing and having conversations with the women who are applying to be inside my mastermind. And one of the women said to me, "Do you know how many of the other women in our group are buying wholesale?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I did not ask them that. That was not part of my intake form." And
Right.
she said, "Because I'm really," and she said to me, which I was I'm so glad that she shared this with me. She said, I'm more interested in being in groups of women who are also doing that." And she said she'd been in groups of designers where a lot of the designers were just shopping retail in their towns, in their cities. And so she said it was a different level of conversation. And so I'm so excited to talk about this with you today because there is, I think, a lot of fear, unknown, and it can be actually very intimidating.
I agree.
So, how do you identify who a good vendor partner will be? Is it a trip to High Point Market? Is it asking your friends? Like, how do you find out? There's so many furniture companies, there's so many suppliers out there. How do you figure out which one's going to be the best in alignment with you and your business?
Well, I think that is probably the biggest inhibitor for many of the designers out there is where do I even start?
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of the trade shows. I think that the trade shows offer a place for specifically a designer to go and see so many brands in one place, hear their story, hear their program, see their products in person, right? I mean, I can put up a bunch of beautiful pictures about my product, but you don't know how it's really constructed, how it really sits, what the materials are used, what level it is. I mean, we can all make images look like it's a $50,000 sofa. Uh, but is it really? And that's fine because every brand fills a different niche. Just know what the expectations are when you see those brands. So for me, if I was a designer starting out this journey of how do I establish trade and wholesale accounts with vendor partners, the first thing I do was go to a trade show. I think it's massively important. I think they get immersed in the industry itself. They start speaking the language, they start understanding, the programs and the opportunities that are available. And that would be my very first step. And obviously, word of mouth and friends will point you in the right direction. I'm sure they all have friends that are interior designers and who they had good experiences with, who they didn't, who was helped them and who did not. And so that would be second tier on my list. I would go and find my
Mm.
vendors at a trade show and then come back and say, hey, have you ever worked with this person? And if they say yes, then dig a little deeper. And that would be my very first step in this process.
Actually, I really like that advice because I feel as though many of us do the opposite. Where we're like, we've got a project. And what happens for designers, and I'm sure you know this, is we get a new project, we're really excited, we start diving in, and all of a sudden there's this frantic energy. Where am I going to source? And then we don't have the time And so we're like, well, we'll just go back to, that retail store. Or we'll just go to that person again because it's quick and it's easy. And I've got another project down the pipeline and this other one's going into construction and I got to make a decision. And so we live in this chaos. And so we can quickly ask a friend, hey, where did you get your last sofa from? Or I love that coffee table you had in that last part. Where was it from? And they might send you a contact. But the reality is, until you go to a trade show, the only one that I've really been to is High Point Market. So that's my point of reference. I love going to market. Um, until you go there, especially if you don't have any wholesale connections, you actually don't know, like you said, the quality. You don't actually know the style. Because let's be honest, not all furniture suppliers are making furniture in the same style. When you go to High Point or any, yeah, right, you see like, oh, they're modern or they're more traditional or whoa, they're ornate. Like there's something for everyone. But when you go, you really get to see, touch, and feel. And for me, the first time I went, I didn't even know the names of any of these suppliers. I'd
Yep.
see a light, be like, oh, I put that in a project last year and I'd bought it through my local lighting shop. I didn't realize it was this company. It's
Yep.
so impactful. It's such great advice.
I agree. And you get exposed to more than what your local design showroom or retailer decides they want in their showroom. You get to see a bigger breadth of product. So, not only are you developing relationships, you're also getting a much more exposure to more product when you go to these shows.
And, also you can talk to your clients. Like, let's not forget the client aspect of it. This actually elevates you in your client's eyes because you can say, I went to the furniture market and I sat in this and I really liked the padding on the seat, or I liked the tufting and this detail, and the quality of this company that I've sourced from for you is actually superior to what that thing you see in the magazine there, that's this other supplier and their quality is not the same. Like, that's, you can talk like that in front of your client. Makes you look super professional, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. I think that trade shows for everybody, designers, and this to me, I call the trade shows the Super Bowl of our industry. Like, it's where everybody that wants to participate in this industry should be going because there's something to be gained and learned, and you just get a lot out of it. It's my number one advice for people: go to these shows. It's important.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we also have designers listening who are like, yeah, I know. I go to the trade shows, I
Correct.
see all the vendors, and they're feeling a little overwhelmed by the sheer volume of options. And so I'm just curious, like, what is something that you see when designers go to these trade shows and they're trying to decide between, let's say, a Dovetail or something else? How do they decide where to put their money at? Because I know I've been to all these showrooms and I'm like, well, now all the sofas start to look the same. And then I start to realize within certain tiers, there's not always a huge difference in quality. So how do you decide who to partner with, who you want to go to and order from?
That is the perfect next step, right? You found five vendors and we all are offering something. When I say similar, I mean we're all within the same price range, quality. Maybe we fit the look of your project. Who greets you the best at market? When you walk into that showroom, how do you feel when you enter that showroom? Do you feel like you're welcome there? There was a genuine interest by the people that greeted you at the front door, the sales rep that was assigned to you, the people, how did they interact? I look at a lot of times in groups like that, how are they treating everybody in that showroom? Like,
Mm,
what is the vibe in that showroom? Because ultimately we're going to have to be your partner. We're your partner in your transactions. So you're going to rely on us. So all things equal, who do you want to do business with should be the determining factor. Do they have programs to support me? Are they going to help me if there's a claim that needs to be made?
yeah.
All those business points become the next thing. And for me, it starts with how do we treat you? And it's a really important thing that we do at Dovetail. And something I preach to our sales team is every single customer that walks in is the most important customer that walks into our door, whether they can do $10 million a year with me or they're only going to do $2,000 a year with me. It all matters. And we try to convey that. And I think that's something your designers should look for is How am I treated when I come into that showroom? Now, the industry is definitely pushing and leaning into the design and trade. So, fortunately for designers, they're going to be treated much better than they were 10 years ago. There was a time when there were signs in the showroom that said no designers allowed. And
I've
now
heard
that's
about
completely
that.
up. Yeah.
Now, let's just take a beat here because I have something I want to add to what you were just saying. I want to have a question
Sure.
for you. But before that, can we just talk about that? Why? Was this a trade show that was just for furniture retailers? Is that why?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the notion of the manufacturers. And I think this was, when the industry from a distribution standpoint on our side was smaller and
Mm,
they had to protect their retail business, right? The retailers would put a lot of pressure on us saying, you're selling the designers who are our customers. And
right.
so there was a little bit of a fight of don't it would be like me now saying I'm going to go sell your design clients, right? You'd be like, whoa, don't do that. Those are my
Yeah,
customers. So
that's
I
a good
think
point.
there was a lot of time where that was probably the big friction point of, if you sold the designers, the retailers would say, I don't want to buy you because they can bypass me, which is basically what's happened in a lot of cases.
Right.
But that's just the natural evolution of the business. It had to go that direction, and the design trade has grown and blossomed so much that it's a force you cannot ignore on our side, especially if you're in this more style oriented middle to upper end price points.
Yeah, it's no different than I can relate to, I hear designers say to me all the time, like, how do I stop my clients from price shopping me? And like, they just went ahead and they bought it from the store themselves. Or I get a call from the store saying, your client's here. Can I pass on your discount? That's happened to me. And
Yeah,
it's the same idea. It's like, you don't want to be sourcing from these local places because you don't want the client to just go and buy it themselves. Well, the
yeah,
great thing now is that we can go to these trade shows and direct to companies like Dovetail
yeah,
and say, "Hey, I want to resell your product to my client. My client can't access you. My client's not like, oh, I'll just walk in on Sunday afternoon." And
yeah.
that is beautiful. Designers, if you're listening, come back to me. Like, this is beautiful.
We have no interest in selling the consumer. That is your job where you have expertise and we do not. So that is not something we have any interest in doing.
Totally. And that's one of the perks of having these partners, these wholesale partners. And I love this idea of partnership because you said something earlier I wanted to come back to is how do you decide, right? Who to partner with? And it's about the relationship. And you talked about, I don't remember your exact wording, but along the lines of when something goes wrong, are they going to have your back? Are they going to work with you? And it's no different than having a local drapery installer. I have my go-to drapery installer. I use him with every project. Are there other drapery installers that are maybe cheaper? Yep, definitely. I've seen them and I've heard of them. Are there other drapery installers who maybe I can get on a, whatever? Maybe. But he's my guy and he has my back. So if something's wrong and the height's wrong, he'll work with me to adjust it. He's not pointing fingers saying, send them back to whoever made them. I'll come back in a few weeks. Like he is troubleshooting with me. I imagine it's the same thing when it comes to ordering wholesale.
It's 100% the same thing. We're not looking for orders with interior designers or retailers or anybody else. We're looking for partnership, long-term partnerships. There's a cost to maintaining and acquiring and building a customer base from our end. And while getting an order is super nice, what we want to build is a lifetime of orders with you and build that. And part of that is there's a responsibility on our end to do that. So the longer we do business with certain clients, the more we stay with you, the more you stay with us, it's easier and easier to just offer more and more services and benefits and support that we can do for you. That's 100% how we feel about it. We're really looking to build long-term partnerships with our designers.
Yeah, and I think, when you find a great company like Dovetail and you're, they become your go-to and maybe there's a few things that you can't get there so you go to other vendors. It's been my experience over the course of my business that I tell my team, like as you start to grow your business, you've got team members sourcing for you. And I say, these are my go-to vendors. You need to start sourcing here. If you can't find what we want there, then come to me and we can look further afield. Because I have learned firsthand, and I know there's other designers who feel this if you're listening, where you're like, well, I'm going to try that company this time because I don't know, someone else used them and it looked really good. Or what about that company? And then you end up splitting. No one company or supplier knows you that well or has your back. And it ends up being actually more effort than it's worth.
For sure. You're spending now, a place where like Dovetail, which we consider ourselves whole home, where you can get a lot of, we don't give you everything for your house, but you can order a lot of different products from us. Where instead of buying from 5 different vendors and managing 5 different orders and shipments and lead times, you can order it in one spot. That's a big convenience for a lot of designers who don't have the staff to support, to do all this. And like you said at the beginning, they're chaotic. You're plugging and putting out a fire over
Mhm.
here and finishing this project over here. Do you really want to be chasing down 5 different orders or 7 different orders when you can just maybe work with two? That's, maybe it doesn't have to be all one place, but 2 different places. That's going to
Right.
simplify your life and make the pain points of your process much smoother.
Totally. Because also a lot of these designers are also managing, tile and flooring and
Right.
plumbing and, they're getting all of that from different vendors. So if you can get your furnishings and the decorative elements from fewer sources, it makes your life easier. And I know a lot of designers are hesitant to even resell products to their clients because the fear of the headache, the fear of, well, yeah, I'll make more money, but it's going to be so much more work. I don't know if it's worth it. This is one of the ways to kind of mitigate that amount of work is have a few great people that you work with. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, just narrow in on a few that you trust, that you like, that you can get the styles and that you like, and work with them to get what you need. That would be my advice there.
So you've been in the industry for a while now. How many years have you been with Dovetail or just in the interior design industry as a whole?
Well, I've been in the furniture industry since I graduated college. My family was in the business, and I went straight to work for them when I was 22 years old. So that was 30
Oh,
some odd years ago.
wow.
I've been with Dovetail for 6 years. It's been an incredible journey to to be here. This is an incredible company that is really dedicated to the trade and design to
That's
community for
really
sure.
cool. So you've seen trends come and go, right? In all the
I
30
have,
plus years.
I
Like,
have.
what would you say is a big shift maybe that you've seen? I'm interested in what's the shift you've seen since the pandemic? Has there been a shift in how designers are sourcing products compared to 5 years ago or the ordering? Like, what's shifted in the last 5 years?
Well, I will tell you that the trade and design community exploded during and right after the pandemic. I mean, the level of new people coming into the
Yeah.
marketplace, the level of jobs that they were getting was clearly increasing. Now we're seeing a little leveling right now, but in general, the explosion in the size of this community is what's really changed, I think, over the last 4 to 5 years in this community. It's enormous at this point.
That's so interesting. It's funny. I remember going to High Point. I think it was, I want to say like 2021. It was right after the total lockdowns and where no one was traveling. And it was so quiet. And people were still nervous to travel.
Yep.
And then going a couple of years later, and it was booming, busy, so filled with people. And I just thought, whoa, what a total 180 from just like, obviously, I went at a time that was not normal. And I'd only been once prior to the pandemic. So I don't have much of a reference, but yeah, I can see that. And I even just coming into my world, the designers who are leaving corporate, starting an interior design firm, I've been helping those designers over the last few years. There's so many new designers out there. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's super energizing. The interactions for us are different at market with an interior designer or in a retailer I think in a better way. It's a different kind of conversation, especially for a company that leads with design. Like that is, we lean into being
Right.
on trend and design and fashion and, trying to push our products. When you have a conversation with retailers, it is a little bit about design. Can we sell the price point and this? when we talk to designers, it's always about the design. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Like it's so much more in sort of invigorating for us to have that conversation about product. Like, because most of the time it's 90% about the product, which is super, super cool from our standpoint to get feedback about the product. Because
Mm,
while most designers don't place orders at markets, that's just they're usually sourcing, finding sources. Maybe they're kind of getting some things. Maybe there's a few, but in general, they're just getting ideas, and
mhm.
they're finding vendors like we've talked about. Um, so we can engage with them on feedback about our new collections. Are they on the right trend? You're at the forefront. You're getting that. We follow a lot what designers are doing. We follow leading designers Instagrams. Where are they going design wise to make sure that we're going in the right direction? We don't want to be zigging when you're zagging. That's not good from our perspective.
Totally.
So it's a tremendous feedback from designers. That's the biggest thing is, we see thousands of designers per market, which is amazing.
Such an interesting business, eh? It's so
Yeah.
funny when you think about it. It's so wild. Is your showroom open throughout the year?
Yeah, our showroom, we have three showrooms across the country, but our High Point showroom is open Monday through Friday, all year long. We have a showroom manager there who's been with us for years. He mans it every day. Our Las Vegas showroom is not, it's only open at markets. And then we have a really beautiful showroom at our corporate offices in Los Angeles where you can come Monday through Friday and see us. Where it's a very, all three of them are fully done exactly like our showrooms across each one is a very similar presentation and fully vignetted and fully set up.
That's cool because, for those who've never been to a trade show, there are some showrooms that are not open between trade shows. Like you just mentioned the Vegas one. There's just not enough foot traffic. So,
No,
so for anyone listening, you don't necessarily have to go during the market days,
no,
though I recommend because there's so much energy and that's when all the events are and that's when the new collections are released and all of that.
right.
But that is good to know that you could go and schedule. You'd want to pre-book it, right? You want to schedule if you're going
Good.
in.
Yeah, you can go on our website. There's a place to make an appointment with the showroom manager, or you can just call us or email us and we would help connect you with that person. The same in LA. You don't, I mean, if somebody wanted to make a trip to LA and join us, we'd certainly welcome that and see us there. Same process. You can make an appointment or you can just come in.
That's cool. So let's talk about the product itself. What
Mhm.
are like for those who don't know Dovetail, because there's designers here who have never been to a trade show. They don't even know any of the company names of what they're supplying to their clients because they just go to the local, retailer. What type of product does Dovetail have? And then I'm curious about well, I'll let you finish that question because I've got a second question about pricing that's more about the designer and their client and transparency. But first, I kind of want you just to share with everyone what type of products do you sell?
We call ourselves, like I mentioned before, whole home. We do when someone comes into our showroom in High Point. My joke, if you want to call it a joke, is we can sell you everything in that showroom except for the plants, the books, and the bedding. We do rugs, we do lighting, accessories, bedroom, dining, living room, upholstery, all furniture categories pretty much can be bought from us, which is pretty cool. And then we cross multi styles. We have certain style houses. We have California casual. We have classic, timeless heritage. We have different classifications that we internally design into, but we would call ourselves an on trend brand, meaning we're not super traditional and we're not super modern. We're kind of just kind of on trend. What's going on today?
And as far as price point, where would you say you fall between, low ticket and luxury high end?
I would say we're mid to mid upper, depending on the products. We have products that fall into a good, better, best category, with most of ours in the better category, not the best and not the good, but we have both of those. So yeah, we're medium to medium upper.
So then that follows my next question, which is, how should designers think about pricing their services or even their products, in this world, in this day and age where anybody can Google a picture and find out where it's from, or maybe not find out where it's from, but find it at another source at a certain price. Like, how do you mitigate that with designers? Like, how do you support designers when it comes to pricing? Because I think client expectations are shifting. Now, I would also argue that those designers aren't finding the right clients. The right clients don't care where it's from and don't care what it costs. They're just
That's
like,
right.
make it beautiful.
But you will get one every once in a while that will.
Yeah, and there's, especially when you're starting out, as some designers listening today are, like, how does that work with pricing, transparency, and all of that?
Well, and this is the challenge across all channels, not with designers, with retailers, with everybody. Pricing, the internet and has changed the way pricing's done. We have a MAP price policy, which is minimum advertised price, that anybody that puts our products anywhere printed, whether it's digitally or in print, has to hold to a certain price, and we set that price. It's 2.5 times wholesale. And so when someone goes online, in theory, now don't get me wrong, people break MAP all the time and they have to tell us, and we have to go slap them on the wrist and hopefully get them to fix it. But for the most part, most people honor the MAP because the ones that are selling want to make margin and they don't want to keep racing to the bottom with a lower price. So MAP sort of hopefully mitigates that. So when your customer goes online and sees it, they're going to see hopefully the same price everywhere. Now, how each one of your designers wants to price that is a very personal decision. I know that I do have a lot of designer friends that say they've moved away from a product pricing revenue model. While there's a markup on the furniture, that isn't where they're deriving most of their revenue. They're trying to get that from a fee basis or an hourly basis, because that protects you. Because now you can just say, if in theory, the perfect world for you is, here's what it cost me, here's what you're going to pay, here's the invoice from Dovetail. That's the ultimate in transparency if you're not relying on that. Because then they go online, it doesn't matter or wherever they see the product, the price doesn't matter. The value now becomes in you and your services, not in the product. And so that's one way that people are mitigating that. But there are all kinds of different ways to skin that cat, which is a challenge, I think, because of the transparency of products pricing across, so easy accessible these days.
Yeah, I love two things, and there's one thing I'm going to push back on, but I love two things that you said, which was, well, first of all, the minimum advertised price MAP. That's so interesting. I've not heard that before, so that's really cool. I think designers listening are going to love that, and also for those listening, 2.5 times wholesale. So they're, minimum advertised price. I would imagine some designers are still just selling to their clients privately at below that.
Yeah,
Could they sell above that?
they can
Yes.
sell it for whatever they would like. Anybody can sell it for whatever they want, but you cannot put it out there to the world as your price for less than that price.
Got it. So that's one way that if you wanted to sell it for a little bit less than so it's not suggested retail. It's not
No,
MSRP.
it
I
is not.
like that. So interesting. It is like the
We do have an
minimum.
MSRP too. That's 3 times.
Okay. So for designers listening, there you go. Anywhere between 2.5 times what you pay
Yep.
and up to 3 times
Yep.
is really standard.
Yep.
Um, so I think that's really neat. I think that's really cool. You call that minimum advertised price. I love that. Smart business practice, actually. But then the other thing I was going to push back on a little bit is I believe that unless you are at a level that is so high that you can charge a ton for your fees, I don't think you should give products to clients at cost, especially products that are wholesale at cost. Because in my opinion, you're leaving money on the table. And this message is for the designers who are like 2 to 5 years in, right? You're getting traction, you're getting good projects, but you're not seeing the profitability you need, but you're not confident enough yet, or you don't have the experience yet to charge the hundreds of thousands of dollars in design fees. I do believe that there's a power in finding these wholesalers and reselling these products and keeping some of the profit.
Well, you just answered the question you asked at the very beginning of this: why buy wholesale? Because it allows you to get that margin you need rather than buying it through an additional source that has markup on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because unless you're charging, as you mentioned, John, so much for your fees that you can cover, because there is a lot of time involved in placing orders, right? Even with the right partners, you still got to create the purchase order. You got to go through the website. Then you need to verify all the details, make sure everything is accurate, right? Is it the right finish? Is it the right size? Is the delivery, da, 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 da. Oh, what happens? Oh, there's a delay, or the delivery comes and it's damaged. And like, great partners will work with you, but that's still time. And so if you're not charging enough in your fees, you need to make sure you have that cushion, because otherwise it can be challenging to be profitable.
For sure. I think that my comment was purely against a price protection thing where you could do it. But
Totally.
from a profitability standpoint, I would mark up the product if it was me doing my business. If I truly wanted to protect myself from not being shopped, there it is, boiled down, distilled to the lowest common denominator. But I wouldn't do that either. I would definitely charge for it.
So funny. I always think back to Martin Short in Father of the Bride 2, and he's the decorator. He's like the flamboyant
Right.
decorator, if you remember that movie.
I do remember
And
it well.
he does the nursery or something, and it's like the bills are just racking up. That's like the 1980s designer. And I just feel like, isn't that what we all aspire to?
Isn't that what we want in our business?
It doesn't matter. It's
Overwhelm
going to be
them.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my goodness. This has been such a great conversation. Is there anything we've missed that you feel is really important to share? And I will get to the nugget in a second, but I just want to make sure we've covered all the areas. What did we miss when it comes to this
One
conversation?
one thing I think that's important when evaluating, and I think we didn't talk about it, is because most of the designers are remote, right? And you're dealing with these companies from wherever they're dealing with. I think the piece that has to be important to you guys is the website. What does the vendor's website offer you? Can you get tear sheets? Do you get accurate dimensions? Do you get pricing, inventory? What do you have? Images? All those things that you need to make decisions. Is their website user friendly and robust enough to get you as much information as you need without having to make a phone call or an email to the vendor? That, I think, would be, for me, if I was on your side, super important when I go online. Is it easy for me to get information? Is it easy for me to place the order? Like with our website, you can do everything. We have tear sheets available that you can switch it to this view, that you can put your logo in it and print out tear sheets directly from our warehouse with
Wow.
your pricing and all this stuff. So there are tools that you should look for in a website that make your life easier. Like everything I said. How's it made? Description of the materials, the dimensions, the how many photos, different angles, in lifestyle settings, so you can get scale, all those different things that I know that when you're sitting in front of you can help make your decision a lot quicker. Not going, I like this, but how long is it? And you got to email the customer service team and they got to email you back. I think the website performance should be a big component of your evaluation of a vendor. It's important.
That's a fantastic point. I hadn't even thought of that, especially in today's world where we're doing everything online.
Yeah.
Everything is digital. All of our presentations are digital. And so we need great photos, especially if it's not something that the client's going to go and sit in and touch and feel. You want to make sure you've got the close-up shot, you've got the pictures. I love that you can see like the delivery and the lead times on your site. That's great.
Yeah, our inventory shows there. It shows what's if it's out of stock, if it says, zero available, we'll show you what's coming in, and it's a rolling number where it's actually the availability, not what's just coming in on that shipment. It's actually what's available from that next shipment, with our best estimate of when it should arrive. But it's really a good tool for planning, and so I think it's a big component of it was a big initiative for us 3 or 4 years ago to really upgrade ours, and it's made a big difference.
I would imagine that's a pretty big undertaking with a company that has as many products as you have, and then keeping it up to date.
Yep.
I can't even tell you how many times I've designed for a project and we get close to the presentation date and we either investigate or we don't find out till after the presentation, but we investigate and we do like, let's just double check stock because we've built the whole presentation around this one item. And
Right.
we call the vendor because it's not available on a website, and they're like, oh no, there's it's a back order issue now, or there was an issue. It's like, what? And now it's the 11th hour, and we are having to redesign the freaking living room because the carpet, I'm just making this scenario up, but whatever the item is that the whole room was designed around, designers, you get it. You pick one thing and you're like, oh my God, that the whole room makes sense now. Now we have to change it. And because there hasn't been the transparency of information, I think that's really so important in today's world, especially things are moving so quick. And if you are a studio and if you are someone who has an assistant, to be able to have a website access where they can just quickly log in and they can find out the information you need, oh, game changer.
Yep, I agree. I think the website for us has been the biggest improvement in our ability to service the design community effectively.
That's awesome. All right, now it's time for it's that time of day. We're going to do the last nugget of wisdom. So, John, what last nugget of wisdom do you have for our listeners today?
Well, it's perfect actually. I was thinking about this because you kind of prepped me on this, and I said, what kind of wisdom can I lay? And based on the way this is gone, this is actually perfect of where I was thinking. I sign every one of my emails to my team with a tagline at the bottom, and it says, "Good things happen when we work as a team." And I believe that not only internally, I mean that all of us. And so with the design community, if we're all partnering together, working together, then all of us can really be successful in what we do. And so for me, that is a good mantra, not only for me with my team, but also with my partners and my partners with me. And so that would be what I would leave. Good things happen when we work as a team. If you're working with people that aren't working with you, it's probably not going to be a successful thing for you.
Oh, such a good nugget. I don't think we've had that one on the podcast before. We're like
Oh,
300
goodness.
plus episodes deep. That's good.
I love it. Thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining me today. Where can everyone find and follow either you or the company to find out a little bit more information about Dovetail?
Well, I think the first place to start is what we talked about just a few minutes ago, the website. It's www.dovetailhome.com. And you can sign up for our trade program there. You can instantly have an account set up with us without an order. So you're ready to go. You just submit your information and we'll approve you and you'll be off and running. You can learn about our trade and design program there, which offers pricing incentives, freight incentives, and then have full access to everything we talked about, the tear sheets, the products, the lead times, all the stuff to make you successful, and then see all 2,000 plus products that we offer and really get a feel for that. And once you do that, you'll get in contact with your local sales reps, and our local sales reps are very supportive of the community. They'll introduce themselves, and you should absolutely lean on them for additional support as well.
Awesome. And that website is www.dovetailhome.com, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we will also link it in the show notes. Thank you
Fantastic.
so much for being my guest today, John. It's been such a pleasure.
Rebecca, it was great. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, that was really great. I love when I can have a conversation with someone who's been in the industry for a really long time and has seen the evolution. I especially think it's so fascinating that when you go to these furniture markets like High Point Market, there would be signs on the door saying designers aren't allowed. And it's funny because I remember when I went the first time before the pandemic, there was a little bit of exclusivity with some of the vendors, not Dovetail, but other vendors where it was like, oh no, if you need an appointment. And there were a couple ones that they said, oh no, if you're a designer, you can't go there. And I remember thinking, oh, that's weird. I didn't think much of it. But now hearing how he's described the industry back in the day, if you will, so interesting. Dovetail sounds like an incredible company to partner with. They are a company that is clearly trying to keep up with the times. Their website, dovetailhome.com, sounds like a designer's dream when you're sourcing and a great opportunity for you to make money. Because let's face it, we are listening to this podcast today because we want to get better. We want to have better clients. We want to make more money because we want to have a business that feels as good as it looks. And so finding the right partners who are on the same path as you is going to be instrumental. Okay. If you enjoy this episode, would you just give us a little DM on Instagram? I'd love to know. And if you've worked with Dovetail, let me know. I'd love to hear your stories, and I would love to see pictures of your projects even. Please share them my way and share some love with Dovetail. Go on over to their website, check them out on Instagram, and I'll see you soon.